All right, with that, I'm going to go and give our introduction to our next speaker. This is to close out the night. Is everybody ready for this? Has it been a fun night already? We are about 10 minutes ahead of schedule. Oh. So that's good. So that means we get to spend a little more time in here. But I told Michael, I said, you get a half hour if you can fill it. I know he can. This guy's going to 50 plus feature movies and films. I'm like, hey man, can you connect me? I enjoy it. I don't know. That's a crazy world. My mom says, Carter, you know what it's like to really be a big time actor? They don't have a life of their own, right? It's kind of what you have to think about. But Michael does so much to really impact the wildlife. How many people have an appreciation for wildlife? Animals, right? Is there anybody like, no, I don't like animals? Of course, everybody loves our animals because they bring so much fulfillment. They're such an intrinsic part of our ecosystem and everything that goes on this little planet. And a lot of people don't realize that. It's like, it's just an elephant, right? What is it? No, it's something that actually part of the system that God gave us. And so here we are with a nice warm welcome. Give a warm welcome to Michael Beran.
So you know, as a public speaker, you always have to start with a group exercise, right? But I looked at you guys and I'm like, y'all are such a good-looking group, and you're so dressed so well. Y'all are not ready to handle a greased alligator. So we're going to leave the olive oil off of Mr. Snappy here. We're just going to pass him around, and let you handle that. But I do appreciate all of y'all showing up today. You can just let everybody start handling, because you know, you may or may not remember anything I say tonight, but you will remember the alligator. You know, I might come and go. I might tell a cute story, but you will remember that owl. And so I've tied a lot of my life to animals, and it all started when I was just a little kid. I was raised literally in the swamps of Louisiana. Now, Ann back here was a great parent, and she has a great story, and I can relate to that because I was the oldest of 4 brothers in the swamps of Louisiana. While my father was in the Air Force, and my mom was in town, she was an insurance agent, you know. So that left me, the oldest of 4 brothers, taking care of 4 boys, you know. And I'm going to tell you, there was not very good parenting going on at all. You know, one of the things that me and my brothers used to love to do is we loved BB gun wars. You know, we all had BB guns. And then one year, my dad bought all of us pellet guns from the Philippines, because that's where he was stationed at the time. He shipped home 4 pellet guns. Well, we had this rule. We had rules, right? You could only pump your pellet gun up one time whenever we were playing pellet gun war. Well, one day, me and my 3 younger brothers, we were out playing BB gun wars, and I know I heard my brother pumping that thing more than 3 times. And he shot me in the stomach with the BB, and it was the first time we'd ever had to deal with a lot of blood, you know? And so here's my 3 brothers, okay? Now, Ann, you'll understand this. The youngest one, Justin, he was screaming his head off because, I mean, I literally had blood all down my pants, all over my shirt. He was screaming, I mean, just as loud as he could. He was the baby, you know. My next brother, his name's Scott. He's the one that actually runs the business with me. He was like, we got to tell Mom and Daddy. We got to tell Mom and Daddy. I was like, no, boy, you do not tell Mom and Daddy. And I had to physically grab him because he wanted to go tell Mom and Daddy. Not that they were home anyway. But my brother that shot me, he was like, you're not going to tell on me, are you? You're not going to tell on me. And I was like, no, I'm not going to tell on you, because if I tell on you, Mom and Dad's taking all these pellet guns away, you know? I was like, we got to figure out how to get this thing out of my belly, you know? So that was the first time we performed surgery, was right there. And I'm going to tell you, we took a pocket knife, and we sat there and we dug that BB out until we got it out of there, you know? And I got a nice little scar from that. But, you know, it just goes to show you that I was raised in a different era, you know? I was raised, you know, I grew up in the late 60s and early 70s. I went to high school and graduated in 83. So it was a different time, you know? My parents, as long as we got home for dinner, they were okay. with whatever we did. And we were out in the swamps a lot. And of course, we had swamp adventures. We tried to catch baby alligators, and we would go on survival weekends where we would say, all right, well, everybody can bring 1 can of food. And when school's out on Friday, we hit the swamps. And Mom's only rule was we had to be back by the time dinner was ready on Sunday. So we were gone from Friday till Sunday evening. And I'll tell you, we got into a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. We really did. But we didn't know it was trouble at the time because we were just living our lives, We were just trying to figure out how to have fun. And there wasn't an internet and there weren't any Game Boys. And, I can remember when the Ultra 64 came out, that computer, and I was like, wow, that's cool. Why didn't I have this when I was growing up? But I had something better. I had the swamps of Louisiana, and that's where my love for animals really came from and was rooted in who I am. Fast forward, I was a D average student. Couldn't figure out how to study or pass a test to save my life, but I was a good football player, and I could play the heck out of a saxophone. So those two things kind of got me through school. Well, when I graduated, it just made sense that the only thing I was really good for was military. Well, I went and I took the ASVAB, and I found out that I had a brain. I scored like super high on this ASVAB, and my dad thought it was a mistake. That maybe it was somebody else's score, but it was mine. And so I joined the Navy. I got into strategic weapons systems. I got into nuclear weapons, and then I volunteered for submarine service. Had a great time in the Navy on submarines. A lot of great stories there. But then that time came to an end, and I got out of the military, and I found out that the civilian world did not need nuclear weapons technicians. But they did need copier repair people. They needed people that could work on copiers, and they also needed bartenders. And so I went through bartending school and got some good jobs with that. Worked my way up the corporate ladder through the Marriott Corporation, got into food and beverage, and then I bought my first restaurant, moved back to Louisiana, and ran a restaurant in Alexandria, Louisiana, sold that, and then I got into this thing that I really thought was going to be my money maker, the biggest thing that ever hit, and it was called cell phones, cellular. And I was like, man, this is going to be gold, man. I mean, you can drive around and talk to people, And so I was an outside sales manager for a cellular company called Centennial Wireless. It was a small startup company in Louisiana, and I just remember thinking that, man, this is it. This is going to be huge, And I felt so empowered installing, cellular devices in cars where they could drive around and talk on the phone, And it was amazing. So I did that, and then like everything else, I was in outside sales. I was an outside sales manager. Everything else, it started going retail. Then they opened up a store where people could come in and buy cell phones, and I was like, this is crazy. So I got out of that, and I got into construction by accident, kind of, Became the vice president of a construction company, was doing really good with that, and then they just suddenly went bankrupt. And I was like, how is this even possible? We got $53 million worth of business on the books we haven't even done yet. How can you be bankrupt? Well, anyway, they did go bankrupt, and I decided that I was going to trap animals for a living. After that, I came home and I told my wife, I was like, look, we're going to buy some traps and I'm going to catch animals. And I'm pretty sure she threw a shoe at me. She wasn't on board with this at all. But what it came from is I was a master falconer, and I had hawks, and I was squirrel hunting with my hawks. And people that had squirrels in their attics would ask me to take the hawks and catch the squirrels out of their attics. Well, that didn't work. They couldn't fly around in there. But what I did was I bought 6 traps, and I went and caught some squirrels, and they paid me money. I was like, people will pay me to do this? So I bought 6 more traps, and then they paid me some more money. And before you know it, I've got a company. I started a company. And that's how we got started in rescuing people from wild animals. Because one thing I found out very, very quickly was that when you think about rescuing somebody, it could be a bear about to attack a hiker, or it could be a banker that has to be up at 7 o'clock because his kids are about to get up. And at 5:30, the squirrel in the ceiling starts scratching around and making a bunch of noise, and he's like awake an hour and a half early. He's in crisis, And so, I say this a lot. I rescue people from wild animals. And it's the truth. And sometimes it's just really mundane, like it's the moles in somebody's yard, but they spent $1,300 on that flower bed, And then sometimes it's more significant. A raccoon falls through a ceiling and their 2-year-old's asleep in that room, And so I get to do a lot of that. But at one point, I decided that I was going to go down the path of brand entertainment instead of traditional advertising. And what I mean is I was going to take my brand and make entertaining content around it, and people would remember that, and if they had an animal issue, then they would call me, And so I started down that path about 10 years ago. And we were in Shreveport, Louisiana at the time, and at that time, Hollywood came to Shreveport, Louisiana. Louisiana had some great tax incentives, and so, all the big production companies came to Shreveport, Louisiana. Well, I had an owl at the time, Eurasian eagle owl, and they hired me to train an owl for a film, okay? And then that led to, I was on the set, and they needed somebody in this one scene. They just needed me to walk across the room. And I was like, well, I can do that. So I walked across the room. And then I found out that if you were available, that you could pick up opportunities. Like I would be hired on the set to do one thing, but I'd always be around, and I was always listening, and I was always available, and these opportunities would present themselves, Like the best one. You all know Samuel Jackson, right? I was on the film set for Cleaner, just one word, Cleaner, all right? And I was just background talent. That's all I was hired to do. And everybody was standing around. Well, I knew one thing. If everybody's standing around, they're wasting money. So I started working my way up to the front, and I was looking for the first AD, because I knew if I could talk to the first AD, he'd tell me what the PA was doing, So I found out that everybody was standing around because the guy that was supposed to drive the backhoe to dig the grave for Samuel Jackson to throw the body in, he didn't show up. And they were struggling to figure out what to do, Well, I just happened to pull out my wallet and I said, well, I have a heavy machinery operator card. I can operate that pack hole. And sure enough, they were like, what? Yep, they signed me up, and man, I got credit on it just like that. I got the pay bump and everything, but I got to dig that grave. And then that just led me to believe that, if you were, yes, Rocky, I'll tell your story too. That if you're open to opportunity, that there is a lot of opportunity around you, but you've got to be open to it. You've got to be expecting it, And there's two things that I really want you to walk away from this tonight. Besides my animals, I want you to remember those, And I'll get to those two things real quick. I'll end with those two things. They're important. But firstly, I found out that surrounding myself with people that could do things better than me was ultimately the most important thing, because I am one man, I can do so much. But if I surround myself with people that can do amazing things, then all of a sudden their success becomes my success, And I do want to recognize a couple of people that came here tonight because they are part of my team. First, my wife, Bonnie, who is amazing with finances. I'm horrible with finances. She is amazing. And then there's my events coordinator, Jenna, who is amazing with marketing and like keeping things together and keeping things moving in the right direction. And she's also a great storyteller. Like, she is the best storyteller. So if you have a birthday party and you want us to bring some animals to your birthday party, get her, because she can tell the most amazing stories, much, much better than me. And then Robin came in. She's one of our volunteers. She's always there. She's solid. You know, she's always, like, if we need something, she's there to help. And I got 2 more people, and then I'll tell you the 2 things I think you really need to know about this. The other person I want to recognize is Tim Desway. He's one of my lead technicians. This guy is a mole trapper. I'm going to tell you what. He is a mole trapper. But he can really do a lot of animal captures, and he's got a really good sense of the fine details of trying to trap an animal. You know, that fine nuance of exactly where to put a trap and how to capture an animal alive. You know, and then lastly, Cole, my videographer, who is just amazing. We've become really, really good friends. He lives at the center with us. He's always on everything, and he's the reason why our YouTube channel is exploding like it is, you know, because he is incredible with film, but he's also a great editor. But he can do things that I have no chance, like I can't do. I can't do any of those things, you know. And so surrounding yourself with really good people that are better than you is really a key to everything, all right? Now, I told you in the beginning that I was a D student in school, all right? Well, through my life, I have found something that is more important than education and more important and trumps just about anything that you can do. It is really the great equalizer in life, and that is tenacity. If you have tenacity, you can overcome a bad childhood, you can overcome poor education, you can overcome, you know, not having the best finances in the life. But if you're tenacious and you stay on it and you stay after it, then you will win, or you'll die and you won't care, you know? But the other thing that goes right along with that is persistence. You know, if you can be tenacious and you can be persistent, then you can accomplish anything that you try, anything that you want to do in life. And those 2 things are the great equalizer. Doesn't matter how you were brought up, doesn't matter what college you went to, doesn't matter what life experiences you've had, but if you can be tenacious and you can be persistent, you'll accomplish anything you put your mind to. And with that, I appreciate you. We are going to have some animals at the end of this, and I want you to take pictures with them and remember who we are, Wildlife Command Center.
Well, welcome to the jungle, everybody. I'm looking for a song appropriate. That's kind of fun. That's what I came up with. I just grabbed one of my little posters here because I wanted, we had a quick reminder there from Michael, bare hands, Beran, that life is all about, a lot of people chase, they dream. So I've had this on my poster. I'll give anybody who wants one of these, we sign it. A lot of my guests that come in the studio, we sign this and say, put this up somewhere to remind everybody that it's great to dream, but you have to do more than that, right? You have to chase those dreams. And if you just keep going, I talk about this in speeches, I will try something 10 times, failing 9, but I will get there because I tried it that many times. With a smart guy, who's probably better at it than me, didn't even try the first time yet. And he might get it right this first time he tries it, but he does not know the 9 things that are going to cause it to fail, like I do. And that's the big advantage we allow us to have. So I appreciate you bringing that up again. One more quick tidbit that we have to take care of. This is important to me. So, Randy, come on up here if you would for me real quick. This is my friend Randy Dudenhofer. Did I say it right?
Yes, you did.
All right, I'm going to put the mic over here with her too. We actually, do we have another mic? Yeah, there is. No. Remember, I forget. I don't want to dance up here too long, right? All right, here we go. But Brandy called me the other day. She says, we're doing something, and she's initiated this. That was cool. I was like, so how many people are familiar with the Kauffman Fund? Right? The Kauffman Fund does some incredible stuff to help, and I talked to most of the people, but the bottom line is to help veterans to get their needs taken care of, housing, and a lot of times those guys down and out because they've had trauma or whatever happened, and they put their lives on the line. So Wayne Kauffman started the foundation, so I'm going to let Brandy talk a little bit about what's going on here, and I'm going to change some of the stuff on the screen up there because I should have put that up there. I'm going to do it right now, though.
Okay.
Here we go. Thank you, Brandy.
All
Give it
right.
up, Brandy.
Well, thank you. So I'm a realtor, and thank you to USA Mortgage, great mortgage company, definitely. I'm a Homes for Heroes affiliate, and I had the opportunity to nominate a nonprofit for a $10,000 grant. So I nominated the Kauffman Fund, and they are in the final phase, and they are one of 3 nonprofit organizations at the chance to win $10,000. Well, it is a voting process. So the organization that gets the most votes gets the $10,000. So I am here begging, please, if you don't mind, take 30 seconds or less and vote for the Kauffman Fund. So if you are able to go to vote for stlheroes.com, and I might have a QR code that I can pass around. It is so simple. Vote for stlheroes.com, scroll to the very bottom, select the Kauffman Fund, check the box that you're 18 and older, and hit submit. They don't ask for your information, nothing like that. You have to be 18 or older. You vote once, and spread the word for me, please. I would love for a local organization like the Kauffman Fund to win this $10,000. They're amazing. They've got great programs for our veterans, and it would be just so awesome. The other 2 organizations are great, but they're not here local. They're in other states, and so I'm just really trying to help the Kauffman Fund win $10,000. So thank you. Thank you, Carter, for the opportunity to share. So vote for stlheroes.com.
The number 4 or FOR?
FOR.
So do the whole website, please. Everybody's trying to find it.
Sure. Vote, VOTE, for FOR, STL, Heroes, HEROER, I'm sorry, HEROES.com. Thank you.
Awesome. Beautiful. Hey, you guys, we got here a little bit early. We got some time now if you would like to, because we get the room probably till 10 if we want to, but I'm going to spend a couple hours shutting it down and packing everything up. But you guys can get out of here whenever you like. Spend a little time here talking to Michael Beran and look at some of his animals they've got here. Amazing. And spend a few minutes talking to our speakers that are here, because you might have an issue. There's something you want to discuss with them, and they can help you, because that's what we do. I got to give a shout out to all the support that we've had here. John Pagano, again, coming through like crazy. This guy, I just call him, he says, what time? And all the clients and friends and guests on our show, I could go down the whole list. Ron, for coming out, man. It's such a great surprise. I appreciate it. And last but not least, my mom. So thank you, Mom. All right, everybody, good to see you soon. We're going to do another one of these. Get a hold of me if you know somebody that deserves to be highlighted on our TV show on ABC here in St. Louis, the Your Little Castle show, yourlittlecastle.com. Can you believe nobody took that? yourlittlecastle.com. Thanks, everybody. Giddy up.